Let's go ahead and start another video. So now we're going to do some math. So public class math examples. Make sure and create public static void main. Previously we talked about a bunch of different data types. Well, we now know of byte, short, int, long, and these are the integers. The default, do you remember what the default is? It's an integer, or int. And then we have float and double, and those are the floating point. And what's the default there? It is double. All right. We also have another one, which is string. And this is just a string or array of characters. So let's focus right now on the integer and the double. What can we do in terms of math? So let's create an integer. I'm going to call it num1. It equals 4. Well, that's really boring. So let's do something like num1 equals num1 times 4 and print that out. System out println num1. Well, num1 equals 4. And then num1 equals num1. Well, what is num1? Oh, it's 4. So what's 4 times 4? It should be 16. So I'm going to head and save this. And put it in the same place. There we go. Save that. Everything's great. Does it compile? It does. We run it, and we get 16. Yay! So 4 times 4 is 16. You can also do a whole bunch of other math. So for example, you can say num1 equals num1 divided by, let's see, divided by 4. Well, what's the value at this point? Well, it should be 16. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. Cool, no problem. We can also do things like num1 equals 3 plus 5. Oh, okay. So we can do multiplication, we can do division, we can also do subtraction. So 3 plus 5 is 8, and then we subtract 2. So 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. So we should get a 6 at the very end. And we did. Well, what do you know? So we can do all of the basic ones that we're used to. We can also do some really complex expressions. So we're going to say num1 equals 3 times num1, which at this point is 6, and then plus 2 minus 7. In fact, we'll even do a 2 plus at this point. So if you know your order of operations, you know that 3 times num1 will happen first. In fact, I can put in parentheses to refresh your memory. And then 2 plus that result plus 2 minus 7. Okay. Well, this was a 6, so 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2, 20, plus 2 is 24, minus 7, which would be, I think, 17? Maybe my math's not so good. We forgot to print it out. Let's print it out. And 15. Well, shoot. Let's get the calculator out. Let's review this. I'm going to make this a little bit more basic. All right. So we have the number 6 here. So 3 times 6 equals 18 plus 2 minus 7. And yes, my math was off, but the calculator and the computer were right. So it's 15. Not bad. Oh, okay. So what happens if we don't even bother to put it in there? I'm going to say, since we know it's 15, let me just go ahead and divide this by 3 inside. This will be an expression inside. 15 divided by 3 should be 5. Yay! We got it! Now, what happens when we divide it by 4? Okay, let's get the calculator back out. So 15 divided by 4 equals 3.75. So this should change to 3.75. All right. And, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Where is the 0.75? Where, did I mess up? Oh no, no, of course not. Int is a integer, and integers do not have decimal places. So if you are going to be using an integer and you realize that you want decimal places, you need to change this. So let's go ahead and change this. Double num2 equals all that, and then num2 divided by 4. So if we do this, num2 equals 2 plus 3 times num1 plus 2 minus 7. That should be 15.0. And then I'll even print this out as a num2. And then we'll do num2 divided by 4. Compile that and run. Oh, good. Whew. Sanity has been restored. So if you are dividing something and the data type of your variable is an integer, you are not going to get a decimal place, no matter what. And that's the key to understand about division. Now there's two different types of division. There is the division with decimal places, and then there's called the remainder. So, 15 divided by 3 equals 15 divided by 3. That's 5, right? And with a remainder of 0. So the remainder of 0 is the remainder, and this is called the quotient. Now, if you don't remember this kind of thing, this is way back in 3rd grade, and I'll put the 0 here just so we're consistent. And there we go. 15 divided by 3 equals 5, remainder 0. So let's do that. 16 divided by 3 equals, well, let's get our calculator out. So 16 divided by 3 equals 5.33333. Oh dear. Oh dear. So that's going to be 5. Quotient. Well, what's the remainder? That's right. It's going to be 1. Remainder of 1. So if you remember your math from 3rd grade, 16 divided by 3, this is before you got into decimal places. If you're dealing with just your integers, then 15 divided by 3 equals 5. So let's see if we can reproduce this. I'm going to have int, I'm going to call it num5, equals 16. And system out print line, and then num5 divided by 3. If all goes well, I should get the quotient of 5. All right. Compile that, run that, and there's my 5. Excellent. I can even put a string out in front, quotint equals, and then put this in parentheses. What this does is when I have a string, this plus sign actually becomes a concatenation. And we'll talk about that later. But I can say quotient equals num5 divided by 3. Excellent. Quotient equals 5. Well, if the quotient equals 5, how do I get the remainder? Well, the remainder equals num5. And instead of the slash, I'm going to put a percent sign. Why a percent sign? I have absolutely no idea, but there it is. We have the percent sign, and that gives us the remainder. So 5, remainder 1. Let's see here. If we do a 17, well, 17 divided by 3 is still 5, and 17, and the way that we read this would be 17 mod 3, or modular division, but everybody just says mod. 17 mod 3 will be remainder 2. Oh, there it is, remainder 2. And that, my friends, is our basic mathematics. You can do mathematics with integers or doubles, it doesn't really matter. But when you deal with integers, you have to understand that there's 2 parts for every division. With our double, we'll just say double, and we'll say, I don't know, num num6 equals 4.2. If I say system out println num6 divided by 2, that will give us a 2.1. And there it is. So division with doubles is really easy. But with integers, you have to understand that you have both a quotient and a remainder.